Hello, Steve White, Triple 89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, I just watched episode 2 of season 2 of Picard, Penance. It was interesting. It was kind of what I thought would happen. Everyone was all excited last week because we actually got to see an episode of Star Trek where there was actually the Federation and starships and a fleet, and it felt in a lot of the scenes like an episode of Star Trek. And everyone was all excited, like, oh, this is what we wanted. And I'm like, yeah, it's not going to last. It's like bookends. It'll be like the first episode of the season, and the last episode of the season will be in the normal Federation. At the end of the episode, we see Q, the Enterprise is destroyed, and we see Picard appear in this alternative Earth. It's an alternative timeline from a time incursion. Not a different universe, but just a different timeline. And Q basically announces himself and lets Picard know sort of what's happening at the end of the episode. So this episode starts off with Q basically explaining to Picard that they're in a different time, and that nothing exists that he was used to. Like, the Federation's gone. It's a totalitarian civilization that basically eradicates other races and believes in human superiority and all this sort of stuff. And Picard, he wants Q to just stop. He just wants, because Q is... The language is really good, the dialogue is really good. Q is very much himself, and he's very much talking in riddles, and Picard just doesn't have the time for it. And there's a moment where Q is telling him, well, he's asking him to explain, and Q's saying, you're too clever to listen. He says, we can learn from, our past, ourselves, our past selves, so forth, blah, blah, blah. And Picard is just like, look, I don't have time for this. And he actually slaps him across the face. And I actually gasped. I don't know, it was just like, the vision of Q slapping Picard was kind of shocking. And he basically is not... He's not there for Picard's obstinance and stubbornness, and he lists a bunch of things and basically is like, look, you won't change anything that you need to. It's just, again, talking riddles and basically just setting up this whole scenario, which of course is infuriating to Picard and everyone else. And then he basically, Picard he says, I'm not going to take part in this. So then Q just disappears, and we see Picard, his vineyard basically is, everything's dead, just like the rest of the planet. Like Q said, it's on life support basically, and he's got his whole place is being run by Romulan slaves. He's a war general. He has a room full of the skulls of his enemies, like Sarek and Martok and I can't remember his name. Gold Dukat. Why can't I say these names? They're all names we know. And he's basically going to Eradication Day, where he's going to eradicate the last of a species that was an enemy of the Confederation, because he is the general who flew in the, what was it called? The World Razor was his ship, which basically destroyed all the Confederation's enemies, and he's this big war general, war hero. We find that Seven, Annika, is actually the president, and she's married to some Asian general who, I think I recognised him from something else. I should have checked the name of the actor. But yeah, he's sort of running the show for her, and she's, of course, trying to go along with it, and Picard's trying to go along with it. Raffi is part of the Confederation as well, and she is capturing Elnor, who she has to pretend like is a prisoner, to bring him in so that she can get into the... they're all being drawn to the same ceremony, so she can get into the ceremony. Girardi is working down in the basement. She's actually... she's actually got the Borg Queen down there, because the species that is being eradicated is the Borg, although the Borg actually isn't a species, really. But they've got the Borg Queen. She's the last of them, and they're going to eradicate her in the ceremony. So Rios, of course, is fighting the Vulcans because they're in a war with the Vulcans. Seven calls him back. Everyone is in perfect position, basically, to take the Borg Queen because they realise that they're in a... she is aware that the time's been broken as well, as been an incursion, and they basically have to find a way to time travel. They theorise they can do it the way Kirk did, do a slingshot around the sun. But they need someone to do the equations. They don't have a Spock, so they decide to take the Borg Queen, and they're just about to beam out when the ceremony starts and the security doubles down. But they manage to get past that, including Raffi throwing Elnor to a bunch of guards while they're distracted, and she basically helps. And Girardi's also working on getting through the shields and getting everything. And they all beam out. Picard and Seven are doing the ceremony. Picard was about to shoot the Queen and paused, waiting to beam out. Didn't happen, so he started shooting the guards and everything. And they did get beamed out. They got beamed onto the ship, and they plugged the Borg Queen in. And they're just about to leave when the President beamed on with 2 security guards and shot Elnor. So it looks like the scene that we see of Elnor... I'm going to say, no, he can't die because he's... Have we seen him in the 20... Have we seen him in 2024? Because the Borg reveals that, the time incursion was one event in 2024 and in LA, and they have to go back there. So that's where they're going. So yeah, this episode was basically like a mirror universe episode, except it isn't a different universe. It's a different timeline where something was changed in the past, and now we've ended up with a totalitarian future where everyone who was important to the last season just magically important to all the events in this season, and this ceremony and this government. So it seems very forced and very contrived, and it's not at all Star Trek. It's not Starfleet. It's Mirror Universe basically. And anyone who was excited about seeing the Federation in Star Trek last episode, they didn't get it this episode, and they're not going to get it next episode because although the episode ends off with a cliffhanger where they have to get away from the president, the president's the first husband or whatever he is, they'll solve that in the first part of the next episode, and then they'll go back in time to 2024, and the next episode will be basically set in 2024, and the next few episodes are going to be set in 2024 while they work out what happened and how to fix it. So my theories of trying to conserve the budget, I would say, have come true. I mean, there were basically no sets. It was all locations for this episode. And same actors, basically. Somewhere Patton Oswalt was in this episode. I couldn't see him. I think he might have been one of the Romulan slaves because they all had some pretty bad hair and makeup. The Romulan makeup was good, but the hair was bad. They all looked like a mess. I'm guessing he was one of them. They did show a couple of close-ups on a couple of the Romulans, but I can't think where else he could have been. I'm just racking my mind at the moment. Because I saw it in the credits, and I'm like, where was he? So a little bit disappointing. I mean, I knew we were going to see, this sort of alternative timeline, and it was just going to be a bunch of basically Mirror Universe shenanigans, and I didn't think it would be this forced, because the Mirror Universe episodes seemed a bit forced, where all the characters that were, of course, important in our universe are suddenly important in that universe, but it was supposed to be Mirror Universe, so that would make some sense. It's just a time incursion, so the idea that things would happen this way seem a bit forced. So that would be my main issue, is the story. The story seems a bit forced in that all the characters are important and conveniently all at the same place and can converge with this. But I thought they were just going to beam up and that was going to be it. At least they threw in a complication, which is really just to tie us over with a cliffhanger into the next episode. But they have to go back and find a watcher. So there's a watcher in the past they have to find, and it's kind of disappointing, but it was sort of what I was thinking. I was thinking this season was going to be bait and switch. The first episode would be very much Starfleet, kind of like the first 2 episodes of Discovery was very much Star Trek, and then they changed it all in the 3rd episode, and we actually got onto the Discovery, and I would have been happier if they'd stayed on the Shinzu and they'd done a series with Michelle Yeoh being the captain and Snooker Martin Green being the first officer and then eventually taking over as captain there. I think that would have been better. And this episode, it's sort of the same thing. You got one episode of Star Trek and Starfleet, and now we've got like a mirror universe episode basically, and then the next few episodes are going to be time travel in the past. So we don't see any Starfleet, any futuristic anything, just the actors in the past working out what's going to happen. They're going to drag that out, working out what the steps that occurred to cause the problem, and then how to undo it all. And I can't imagine there's much more of a twist to the series than that. I think that's pretty much going to be it. Because third episode, they're getting back to Earth. That leaves them with 7 episodes. I'm wondering how much they can stretch it and how much is going to happen. Yep, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'm feeling bait and switched and not surprised, but we'll see if we get any more Starfleet in the next few episodes.